Um, yeah, science, the study of the world around us, it should bring us closer to knowledge of the actual world we live in. Now, some come from a naturalist perspective that they assume, this world is all there is. If you walk with an assumption like that, then no matter how much you know about it, you're always going to come back to that. It's a presupposition. So a lot of the view that, religion and science are in conflict is because religion appeals to a grand story of how everything came about, often involving more than just the natural world, right? If the natural world had a beginning, then something beyond the natural world must exist to create it. I think a big reason that that's so prevalent in culture, and maybe my generation specifically, is because how much this worldview of naturalism is prominent in movies. It's espoused by influencers, and that's where my generation is at. We're on YouTube, we're on Netflix, we're on TikTok, and so that's what we're hearing. The more you hear something, the more rational sounds. So yeah, it is very prevalent, but I think there are a few points to be made here, and I don't want to spend much time on this because I know it's not the main point of what we're talking about, but not everything can fit within the box of science. There's so much about the world that exists outside of science, right? Suffering, like we've been talking about, you can't measure that in a test tube. Same about science itself. The scientific method itself is not something you can measure by science. So there are things that exist outside the realm of science. The question is, what are those things that exist outside the realm of science? Further, as a Christian, I believe that science actually leads us to the mind of God. I believe that God is the creator of the universe. There's a beginning to the universe, there's a cause to that universe, and that cause is God. In fact, that's how science really got off the ground. It wasn't created by the pagans of the time who thought the world was chaotic and thus couldn't really be understood. It was started by theists, particularly Christians, who saw it as an act of worship. They believed in order in creation because they believed in a divine order. And they believed that as they studied this order, it was an act of worship. Kind of like you appreciate artists when you go to the museum and just spend time just seeing their artwork. There's so much to be understood as you dedicate time to see the things they've created, learn about them, have a better understanding about them. It is, in a sense, sort of like an act of worship, and that's how science got off the ground, understanding that there was order in creation and that there's a reason to study that order.